There we go. So the first thing, as I said, which we've just been talking about, is that I hate selling. That I just didn't feel confident selling. And I know this is an issue for many of you and many of my clients, that when I started, it just felt so beyond what I was used to. I'd only ever, what I was quite good at was applying for grants, applying for funding and securing that funding in the job roles that I was in for the projects that I was working on in the third sector, and also working with local government and national government. So it was like, what do you do as, like, where do you even start? Like, what is the process of even thinking about starting, selling and pitching? Like, I had to overcome all of that. The second thing is, how do I offer it in a way that's actually compelling? So we knew at Solutions for the Planet, we had something of value to offer. We knew we had an amazing program that delivered amazing results for our schools and our young people. But we didn't really understand how we could package that up at the start, so that corporates, saw the benefits, and actually so that it aligned to what they wanted, and also so that it was compelling to them, because one of the recent issues being that we didn't really have any of those links and those relationships with corporates. We didn't really know what they were looking for and how it would fit in with them. And we had a lot of misperceptions, preconceived ideas about what they did and didn't want. So I think that comes up a lot. We also, which I'm sure is the case for many of you, we needed a lot of income. So we needed, like, in those first couple of years, at least 75k. That was the gap in our budget for actually us being able to deliver. Like, when we budgeted out what we really wanted to be able to deliver in those first 2 years, it was really like a huge goal. We'd secured 2 corporate partners at the very beginning. We've been lucky enough to kind of inherit parts of the program and inherit these grandfather kind of corporate partners from that legacy. And we started with £14,000, but we still had 75k really of income that we needed to generate from corporate sales. And we just felt that it was, we'd either have to sell a lot or to find a lot of different people to sell to, because the corporate partners we had were 2 at 7k, obviously that makes 14k. I know your maths isn't that awful. And so we were like, this is like 7 to 8 partners we need to bring on in a very short space of time, because our program is annual, it runs on the school year. Each year we need to secure the income in advance of actually being able to deliver the program. So it felt really unachievable to have to be able to reach that goal very quickly. And for us, we also had the added challenge that we needed to have that income early so that we could actually have the staff in place to actually build the capacity and get the program rolling out at the right time in the year for schools. So, and I think this is one of the other biggest challenges as well, that scalability is key here to remembering, even at this very early stage when you're planning this out, that you can charge premium prices for work with corporates if you've got the value in there, if you're able to really meet what they need and you're solving a problem or you're creating a solution for them. So we had one package because we wanted to make it super simple for us, and we would be flexible on some aspects of the program but not on the price. So I think a lot of my clients and a lot of social entrepreneurs that I speak to about this stuff have all these different ideas, which I think is brilliant. They have all these different programs they could offer, all sorts of different bells and whistles, all types of variations. But the challenge with that is you don't know what you're trying to communicate. You don't know really what you're trying to pitch. You're confused and your potential clients are confused. And so one of the things I say, and you need to write this down in your notes, is one package. Start with one offer, one package, straightforward. Once you're in conversation with corporate partners or corporate clients, you can actually then start to explore like the variations, the bits you're willing to be flexible on. But we were very clear at the start, we weren't flexible on the price, we were flexible on what extra value we could add to the program. Or so for us, I haven't actually explained the program, which might be quite useful to do, but it's a year-long program in secondary schools with 11 to 14-year-olds. Our corporate clients not only pay for the program, but they're actually invested and add value to the program as well. They also obviously get benefit, what we'll talk about later, but they provide employees as mentors on our program in schools to support young people to develop their big ideas, which are sustainable business solutions for sustainability challenges. in teams, and it's like a Dragon's Den type thing through the program. Jen's going to be kind of going, that's not it, it's Kat. But anyway, so we had one package, and I recommend this with all my clients, to start with one offer. Keep it simple, keep it straightforward, set the price. Be clear that this is your offer, because then when you're clear and you know, and you can then explore like what are some of the things around the edges. So for us, we could kind of say, yeah, if you want more employees involved in the program, we can explore those numbers. If you want us to, you know, a lot of the corporates that we worked with said, well, we want to inform some of the topics that you're teaching the kids around, you know, in some of the specific areas around sustainability. We're like, brilliant, that's fantastic, that's an added bonus for us. Others wanted a bit more publicity, more press releases kind of built into the program. You know, they were easy things for us to be able to say, yes, we can do. And yes, required a little bit more capacity, but we didn't ever change the price around that. Like, that was just added extras. And we had this list of things like where our boundaries were, things that we weren't negotiating on, price being one of them, and then a list of things that we were like, yeah, we would negotiate on some of these things if they wanted a bit of flexibility around those things, if it doesn't quite meet their business, and the specifics around that. So next thing, how do I actually start to connect with these people? How do you get into those corporate settings if you're not in there already, if you're not used to connecting, if you don't know anybody in a corporate setting? I think it's really interesting how we perceive corporate, and it's often one of those things. And certainly when I've created this webinar on my course, it's like, does corporate really reflect the types of organizations I'm thinking about? Does it reflect in the minds of you, the sort of social entrepreneurs that I'm talking with? Is that what you're trying to work with? And I think for me, corporate really means any business and organization. Yes, and on the whole, it means those big multinationals or big businesses that have a lot of financial wealth and a lot of employees. But sometimes as well, it's finding other organizations, other businesses, medium-sized businesses that can also fit into that category. And this process works just as well for them. Other fears and beliefs that I had, that I won't fit in. One of the things that I was really uncomfortable with was this idea that I had to kind of be somebody else, that I'd have to dress differently, that I'd have to act differently, because I didn't trust in who I was, and that I wasn't that corporate person, I wasn't this corporate fit. So I think we all, if we're not from a corporate space and we're not used to that, we can often perceive corporate spaces being very different and alien to us, and that we're not necessarily going to fit into that. So that was certainly a belief I had, and definitely something that many of my clients have experienced and expressed, this feeling of not fitting in. And also just not sure why, and we talked about this previously, but why the corporates would really be interested in what they have to offer. Maybe it's just different or unique, or just a perception that corporates only want to have things that develop their staff, that help them win business. I don't know, maybe put in the chat box what perceptions do you have that corporates are looking for, and what they're not looking for. You know, I think that'd be a really interesting thing to put in the chat box. So also as well for us, it was really interesting when, and I don't know why we had this perception at all, and I'm not sure we had it, but we recognized very quickly that the corporate clients or potential clients we were talking to in those early days, and still even now, I think Jen would say she experiences this, had no understanding of what social enterprise was, and absolutely just saw us as a charity. So we had to work on educating them about what social entrepreneurship was, but then we also realized that it wasn't really about distinguishing how we were different from charity per se. We'll come on to this in a minute, but it was just about helping them recognize that we were actually a business in the market and looking to pitch to them like any other business that came to them with a pitch. It was a really big challenge for us at the start, but I'm going to kind of share how we overcame this on the next slide. So I can see there's been loads of comments, so brilliant, thank you for that. I will have a look at them at the end, and keep it coming. Louisa's put, I imagine business people are looking for a measurable return on their investment. Absolutely, yeah. So that's one of the things that I have conversations with a lot of my clients around, Louise, and welcome. I don't think I said hello to you before, so welcome. And it's definitely, yeah, but you need to be able to say, this is, you know, and often it needs to be a tangible result or something that's, like you said, very measurable, either financial measure or a very clear outcome that you can say. And I think it doesn't always have to be that. I think it's important that you're able to demonstrate the results you get them, either before or after. But yeah, I think that's definitely a thing. Amy said, how do I know that what I am offering is valuable to them? We will come on to that, Amy, and if not, I will address that as a particular question at the end as well. Rachel said, we have started to brainstorm our objectives and aims. We know what they need and think we have answers to their pain points. But now we are in the stage of using the contacts and networks we already have to introduce us to any corporate contacts. We think we may pitch something and see how this goes before we approach others, but it would be good to have a template or points to consider when writing. Brilliant. So Rachel, stay around because something's coming up that's going to answer that specifically. Perfect. Okay. So I wanted to share an example of a client that I've worked with in the last, I'm trying to think, in the last 6 months. Yeah, definitely in the last 6 to 8 months, I think I worked with Temi. So Temi is the founder of GT Scholars, which is an amazing social mobility program for young people, predominantly in London at the moment. And when she came to me, she had had some amazing successes. She runs a brilliant program. She's got a very small kind of flexible team that work with her, and she had some success at securing grant funding and a little bit of kind of sponsorship or corporate sponsorship, you might call it. So had some relationships in place, but she really wanted to build her team's capacity, the organization's capacity. She really felt like she was getting to the point of, you know, well, she'd, you know, already kind of had this sort of burnout in her team, and kind of really running full and probably beyond full capacity, but recognize that to really scale up and deliver the impact that she could envision, she really recognized she needed to bring in a lot more income into the organization, and she was really interested in this idea of selling to corporates rather than asking for money. So on our first call, we unpacked her unique expertise and insights, which was obviously off the scale because that's the kind of social entrepreneurs I work with. We explored what corporates might be interested in terms of what the work that she was doing with young people around social mobility, and also overcame the art of selling, not asking. So it was really interesting when I spoke to Temi that she particularly when we were talking about her pitching, that she kept saying this thing of, I don't really want to ask for money. At the point of the pitch where I feel like I have to ask for money, I feel really uncomfortable. That's the thing that I'm most fearful about and most worried about. And I hear a lot of clients and social entrepreneurs say this as well. Like, it's the point of the pitch that I'm really dreading, is that bit where do I start and what am I going to do? And I know I'm going to feel awful when I have to ask for the money. And this got me really thinking, and this really was like the tipping point for me putting together this course, because it's really interesting the power that language has. And for me, selling to corporates is not about asking for money. It's about going as the expert and pitching your offer. And it's they're either interested or they're not. And you either get a yes or you get a no and you move on from it, or you get to work with them. And so it's not something that this is a process that I came through from Solutions for the Planet with Jen. Like, it was not something, I definitely had that mindset of, oh God, I feel really uncomfortable having to ask for the money, but it's a real shift in mindset, I think, in terms of recognizing that this isn't about asking for donations and sponsorship. This isn't about being a charity or a charitable cause or about them giving you money to do your social good. This is about you finding the essence of what you can deliver for them from your skills and expertise that meets their needs, and you've just put a price tag on it. So after our first call, I had 4 calls with Temi, but after our first call, within a week, she'd secured her first pitch for a meeting to pitch at 90k. And what was really interesting is when we had the first call, Temi said she really wanted to sort of raise or secure about £75,000. And in the process of having had our call and then preparing for the pitch that she was invited for, she actually realized when she did all the budgeting that she needed 90k, not 75k. 75k was kind of the number she plucked out of the air, but when she actually did the figures, it was 90k that she really needed. And so she went in and pitched for 90k, which I think is really, really powerful, really sort of shifting from the art from asking for the money, recognizing she needed more money, and feeling really comfortable to actually pitch and sell a package that was at that really high premium price point. So just as a summary, these are the sort of beliefs and fears that we said that I had, my clients had, I know some of you will have. And here's some of the actual shifts that we've made. So I've just kind of covered some of those through the example of Temi, but I want you to kind of, you might want to make a note of these, even though you're going to get the slides. But that if you're scared of selling, recognizing that selling is just like any other skill that you can learn. Okay. And if you join the Sell to Corporate course, that's what I'm going to teach you. That if a lot of us have misperceptions, or we feel uncomfortable with selling and have this uncomfortable feeling about selling because of our past experiences, and that we really need to recognize that we need to overcome those and really define what selling means for us in our organizations. So I truly believe that there is no rule book that says you have to sell in a particular way. Okay, I'm sharing lots of tools and resources and mindset shifts in this webinar and in my course around how to go about selling, and learning from my experience of doing that. But you really have to kind of apply that and use it in a way that's relevant for you and your business, because at the end of the day, it is your business, and you've already defined the ethos and the ethics of how you want to operate and create impact. So why not actually apply this to your sales strategy? So if you don't want to be aggressive and pushy and manipulative in your sales, then you don't have to be. You can create sales within your own ethos, within your own ethics and values. So for example, you can create selling practices that are based around honesty, openness, transparency, fairness, being mutually beneficial, and recognizing equal worth, which for me was one of the biggest things I had to overcome, that there wasn't this hierarchy, that I wasn't putting the directors and the CEOs that I was speaking to when I was pitching on a pedestal, that we were equal, and I was coming to them as an equal entity, as an equal person. That was one of the biggest things I had to overcome. But I think we get the opportunity as social entrepreneurs to create our definition of sales and how we choose to sell based on our own ethics and values. And I think this is really, really important. So the next one then is, and this is key, and this is what we're going to cover a lot more over the rest of the webinar, but selling what they want and need. So most of us, and we certainly were at fault of this at the beginning as well, is that we get so stuck in what we're doing and the amazing work that we're doing and the impact that we're having and the conversations and the sort of impact that we see on a daily basis, whether it's, you know, anecdotal or evidence, that when we come to pitching and talking to other people, we just kind of blurt it all out. And we're like, blah, 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 we do this, we do that, blah, 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 we have this amazing stuff, which is all well and good. But actually, when you're selling and actually identifying what other people want to need so that you can actually tailor your offer to them, you really need to be able to listen and actually find out what it is that they need and start from a clean slate, and be willing to start from a clean slate. And I don't mean starting anything new necessarily. What I mean is just being able to park everything that you've learned and done so far in terms of promoting and communicating who you are and what you do, and actually starting from a clean slate. And I say this because we were very good at communicating who we were, what we did, and how we created benefit for schools and young people. And we were, you know, very confident in that, because that was the core, and that's why we were doing it. Excuse me, and that was why we were passionate about it. But when it came to corporates, communicating that, so communicating the benefits for students around it being project-based learning, about being STEM and enterprise, about how it fitted in with the curriculum, about helping students actually learn about the world of work and engagement with employers and learning presentation skills, was all brilliant and really exciting for head teachers and teachers who were buying in the program. But that wasn't what was going to sell it to our business partners, because they were more interested in employee retention and engagement and cross-team working and exposure in schools and the local community, and having access to inspiring ideas and professional development for staff and positive PR. Can you see the difference? Like, our language had to completely shift and change to pitch it to corporates. And this is often where clients come to me, because they're like in the headspace of what they do and the amazingness of their social impact piece and initiative, but they're not sure how to repackage it or recommunicate it in a way that meets what they are hearing corporates want. So Rachel, I think this probably is coming to some of your point, and we're going to go through it in a bit more detail. The next thing then is just 6 degrees of separation. So I was saying, you know, one of those fears and beliefs was that we just didn't have any access to anybody in corporate. And I think it's just really important to recognize that you're always, and I spelled this wrong, but you're always only 6 degrees away from the people that you want to be speaking to. And actually, when you start just reaching out through your connections and literally starting with friends and family, colleagues, literally anybody. And Jenny's the queen at this. So on a few years, she's literally secured, I don't know if she's secured both of them, but she's definitely had 2 pitch meetings with people that she's met on a train. Now, that's a lot to Jen's personality, but it's also to do with the fact that once you know and are confident about what your offer is to corporates, and you just speak it, like it doesn't become a pitch anymore, you're just talking about it passionately, but you know you're sort of subconsciously talking about that as if you're, you know, you're talking that language rather than, oh, I'm talking to a teacher, so I'll talk it and share it in that way, if that makes sense. So you're only 6 degrees of separation away from the people you need to speak to. You just need to be willing to start talking to everybody you know about what you're looking for. The next one then is recognizing that you are the expert. So this goes back to the fact that maybe you're fearful about not having, you know, not being at the right point yet, not being ready, and not really knowing what you're doing. We've all had those feelings, and we all experience that sort of self-sabotage and doubt about whether we know what we're doing right now, or whether they're going to sort of see through us, or whether they're going to just, you know, whether we're not at the right stage yet to work with a multinational company. The reality is you are the expert in what you do. You've created this amazing organization. You're the one that set it up. You founded it. You're the only person in the world that is expert at this particular thing that you do. And so you just have to learn to accept that, because if you don't see yourself as an expert, they absolutely are not going to. And if you know, they don't see you as the expert, they're not going to buy in your services. So it's a really important mindset shift to start seeing yourself as the expert that you are. The last 2 then, people buy people. It's probably an overstated thing, but it is true that you don't need to be anybody but you. So that thing of me worrying about what I'm going to dress when I go to a pitch, how am I going to act, how am I going to approach people, how do I speak, are they going to see through me? It's just really realizing that you just need to be you, that people buy people, and you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but you will find the people that you're meant to find to secure the income that you need. And finally, that thing that I did talk about in the last slide, but and with Tenny's example, that it's really about shifting to the art of selling and moving away from this idea that you're asking for donations or sponsorship, or you're asking an organization to help you do the good that you want to do in the world. No, you've really got to shift to saying, no, this is the service, this is the value, this is how we can help you solve your problems. It just happens to be through our social impact initiative, or through the skills and knowledge that our staff and team have, or through this creative approach to how we facilitate. Whatever it is, it's selling. Okay. So I know there's lots of comments coming. I'm going to, Jen said, when I said one of those people off the train, yeah, I knew she'd secured one of them at 12K. Jen's definitely the woman you need to speak to. So I just wanted to, I know I said we're going to go for 40 minutes. It's going a bit longer. I hope you can stick around. So I just wanted to, before we go on to, well, what are those 3 things to starting selling? I wanted to just very quickly go through the corporate, my Sell to Corporate system, which is in the Sell to Corporate course. So it's these 5 areas. So developing your offer, your standout offer, that gets people noticing you. Finding out who you actually need to be speaking to. So discovering who are those particular people that we want to be working with, and that also are going to value what we're looking to offer, and we can understand what they need, and we've got something to match it. And the third is then actually figuring out a way for you to be found and seen. So you find them, but they find you as well. Really, really important. The fourth part is actually preparing that pitch. So when you start to get these invitations to meet with them, and you get the opportunity to pitch, what do you actually say? What do you actually prepare? What do you actually do? That is all built into the course, and the system is the details of how you actually create that perfect pitch. And then module 5 is how do you actually build the momentum? So once you've secured that first client, how do you actually start, you know, building a system into your business so you can keep onboarding and creating leads in your business, and have regular pitches with clients, if you need more than one. Well, you generally all need more than one corporate client, which is why the building momentum section's in there. But this is the thing I know that most of you really came to the webinar for. So it's the first 3 things to get started: creating your offer, updating, and so yeah, you don't know this, I've just realized this is new to you. So these are the 3 things that I think every social entrepreneur can do to actually get started selling. So even if you don't join my course, if we never meet again, these are the 3 things you can take away alongside all those mindset shift stuff that I've just shared with you, that you can actually go away and start creating and making sales in your social enterprise. So I'm going to go through each of these in a little bit more detail. So apologies, it is going to take a little bit more than 40 minutes. I've probably been talking a bit longer than I had anticipated, but hopefully you'll stick around because I've got a lot more to share with you. So these 3 things are creating your standout offer. So actually, what do you put in that? This is what Rachel's question was, you know, and how do you prepare that so that it actually speaks to what people need. The second thing I think that most people that I speak to aren't doing, and is really, really important, is updating and using LinkedIn as if you're already the expert that you are. So I know a lot of people say, well, but, you know, maybe in 5 years and we are, you know, we're a bit more expert. No, you need to embody this expertise that you already are, start to see yourself as that, and position yourself, particularly on LinkedIn, but anywhere else as well, that you are the expert in whatever your unique field is, and get LinkedIn up to date, because LinkedIn is the social media platform of businesses. It's where you need to be operating. It's where, if you haven't got any corporate connections already, it's where you need to be building those connections. It's the easiest place to do that. Let me just have a drink. And the third one is really start sharing your offer, making connections and speaking to people. And this might seem really obvious, but so many people I speak to kind of hold back and actually don't, you know, they're kind of waiting for the perfect moment, and they don't actually just start talking to people. They don't feel ready. They don't, maybe they've got the start of their offer, but they just don't feel it's fully perfected. You know what? I don't think Jen will mind me saying this, but it's an evolving process, and your offer is constantly in development if you're willing for it to be, because I think over the years you learn so much from working. So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Jen, but we've had 7 or 8, maybe more corporate clients over the 7 years or so that we've been running Solutions for the Planet. And when you've got, particularly in some of them, we've had 7-year-long relationships. You learn so much from those partnerships by being and having conversations and meetings with them regularly, that you are able to build in so much into your program, and, you know, tweak the way you talk about it. Your language naturally changes as well when you're talking to corporates and potential corporate clients. So all of that good stuff. But if you're just not, you just have to start, because you have to start from somewhere, and you just have to be like, we're open for business, and this is where we're at now, and it will adapt, etc. But we are where we are, and we're kind of starting to move forward and start talking to people. So I hope that makes sense. So what I would really love to see right now is, what are some of the things? I'm going to talk about what you actually need to have in your offer. I'm going to go through those specifically. But I would love to know in the chat whether you've got an idea of what your offer is, in terms of how, like, not necessarily the specifics, but like, what is it that you're kind of I don't know how to describe this. The things that are here on this list, they might not be on this list here on the slide, but they would be, you know, other things like this. So is it a program? Is it a lunch and learn session? Is it a workshop? Is it just like one-to-one coaching or group coaching? Is it consultancy? What is it that you think you might be able to offer? These are just some of the things that I've worked with clients. Obviously, is what I mean by an invested program is actually like a Solutions for the Planet program, i.e. the employees of the corporates that we work with are invested in the programs as well. So we give a lot of training and advice and support to the corporate, but their benefit comes from them actually participating in the program as mentors and in all sorts of other ways throughout the program. So that's what I mean by an invested program. You might have something quite different. So these are types of offers, but I know what you really want to know is, like, what do you actually include? So in the course, we talk about, the very first module is about creating this standout offer. And one of the first bits is just putting together a 2-pager. This is what I recommend with everybody, just starting from scratch even, a 2-pager of what your offer is right now. So you've got something to start talking about. And this is what we put in it. This is the structure that we have. So it's a title or a heading to it. So, you know, what is your program? So for us, it's Solutions to the Planet. Suppose it's the Big Ideas program, Big Ideas competition. Okay, whatever your title headline is for the thing that you're offering. Okay, then it's an overview. So this is the overview of the whole thing. So a kind of a paragraph. But actually what's in the overview is really, really important. And I suppose the overview doesn't really give this, it's not the right word for it. But in the overview, you are actually giving people, you're speaking specifically to their problem and need. So you're speaking as though you already know what their problem and need is, your understanding of it. You're demonstrating that you're an expert in understanding what their problem and issue is that you're seeking to tackle, and how your solution actually tackles this. So I hope that makes sense. So it's an overview of the program, but first and foremost, you're outlining what you know to be the problem for them in their language, in their perception, in their understanding, even if you completely disagree with it. Okay, it's really important to get your head into their head. So walk in their shoes, as the old saying goes, and write it as though you're speaking directly to them. So they, when they read it, they go, oh my goodness, they really get who we are and what our challenges are. And we can see now how what they're offering us aligns. The next bit, which is obviously the core part of the actual 2-page bit, is your offer. And within this, it needs to include the benefits, the features, any examples of how you've delivered this previously, and the price. Now, the benefits, remember, are not benefits that you think are benefits. It's what they will see as benefits, okay? The features are the things that, you know, for us, it's like we have 10 employees that mentor. We would ask you to participate in 4 Big Ideas days. Their features, the benefits, the things, what did they get out of it? So for us, we know the corporate part, and you might tailor this slightly to each person if you give it out to them, or you just have this as a standard thing that can go on your website, etc. That's kind of the overview. But hopefully you see the difference between the benefits and features there. The next bit then is any variables or options. So if it's essential for you to put in some of these variables and options, then by all means do. So before I talked about that, not having too many bells and whistles and keeping it simple. But if there are some key things that you do want to have in this offer, then you can put those in. Maybe it's in terms of length of time, but keep it simple and don't have too many options, because too many options confuse, and confused people do not buy. Then obviously the price again, and this is where you might do a price breakdown if you think that's appropriate, or just explain the price. And I don't mean like justify it, I just mean kind of give a bit more detail around the price. And then any terms and conditions. So for example, on a lunch and learn, a really simple thing to put an offer together for, T's and C's might be that, you know, if you book and then you cancel, well, you know, what are the cancellation terms? Just a really sort of simple, you don't need to have all the legal things, you can do that when you actually sign a contract with them, but it's just sort of the basic T's and C's that they need to know, that they, you know, anything where they read this and they kind of have a question, which is why you develop it over time. Any questions that people come up with, you're like, oh, that needs to go in the offer then, because this is something that you don't want people to read this and then have 10 questions at the end of it. You want to kind of answer all the things that they may be thinking about. Then you would have some description about you, your organization, your experience, include some testimonials if you've got previous clients that can share that. Really setting yourself up again as the expert and kind of sharing your expertise in whatever you're offering. And then the important bit at the bottom, or on the reverse side of the page, is contact details and what do they actually need to do, like what's the next steps. Now you can either include this here, I think it's quite useful to include it here, but you can also include it in the offer or the about you section. I think the next steps bit is really key, like book a call with us, you know, email us, whatever it is that you want. I think book a call is for most people the thing you want to happen, because you can get so much out of a call, but you need to have that next step, not just the contact details. I'm just going to come because I just spotted something. Any thoughts on length? Yes, so Rachel, this is 2 pages, so 2 A4 pages. I've had a client recently that's just one page because it was a lunch and learn and it was really easy to do in a one pager. But I think 2 pages, and like for even the most elaborate project, is really key. So this is for you on the whole. It's like an internal document, but it can become something. Certainly at Solutions for the Planet, we have this as something that we send out to sort of very cold leads or people that have kind of been referred to us. It's also then becomes certainly with my clients, it becomes the framework for what you might put on your website or any publicity that you do as well. So it's kind of just it's the bare bones for you and your team to really understand this is what our offer is. Okay, it's got all the details that we need. It's just the bare bones of it. So hopefully that helps. I'm just gonna have a quick drink. So this is the freebie I'm going to give you. So if that is of interest, after this webinar, you're all going to get a copy of this template. Okay, so I've got it as a template. I've got some of the things and the questions that you need to be considering in producing a standout offer, and what all those specific things you need to be in there. So you're all going to get a copy of that. So that's why I was saying, Rachel, to stick around for this, because I know this is the thing that was going to be really, really helpful to moving people forward. So I'm really sorry about the time, guys. I hope it's okay. This is taking a lot longer than I had anticipated, even though I'd practiced. So we'll just see. But I think hopefully it's all useful stuff for you. Hopefully you're going to be able to stick around. And if you can't stick around for any reason, then you will get the replay. So apologies for the time. But really important, this one and then the last one, what to actually do with your LinkedIn profile so that it's updated and relevant and working for you. So here's are 4 things that I think you should really be thinking about doing. Recognizing that LinkedIn and your profile on LinkedIn, and I'm saying using a personal profile, not necessarily one of those business or organizational profiles, your personal profile, recognizing that you're not going for a job. Like, so many people see LinkedIn as this like job profile. You're not, you're in a job, you're the founder, or you're in a job of your social enterprise. You're not looking for a job, but you're positioning your profile to sell to your clients. Okay, big shift that you need to make. And you need to kind of put you and your business in front of people through the profile, and also include your offer on your profile so that it's really obvious for people. And I think the 2 big areas to do this are making sure that your offer is in your about section, and that your experience, so obviously having your current organization in there. So there's 2 parts in LinkedIn, if you're not familiar on your profile. There's the about and your experience section, but your experience needs to really reflect your expertise, the impact you've had to date, and what you're offering in that about section and expertise section. And I think if you're really thinking seriously about positioning to corporates, you really need to kind of, if you've got loads of information on your LinkedIn profile, to kind of take out anything that's really not relevant to what your offer is now and what you're trying to sell. Like, people just want simplicity, and they want to know if you're the person for them, if they need to pick up the phone to you. So you need to have everything on there should be speaking to your target client, okay, and nothing else. You need to make sure that if they do look at you and they're interested, that they can actually get in contact with you. So making sure that you've got the details in there so that they can contact you, whether it's linked to your website or even just easier kind of directly to you via email. Really, really important. I'm just going through my notes, sorry. And then also start posting on LinkedIn, either as articles or just in terms of as little posts, so that you can start to be seen as the authority and thought leader that you are. Okay, so in your particular area. I think this is one of the things that people shy away from way too much, because it doesn't have to be anything profound necessarily or rocket science. It can just be things that, and recognizing that things that you just do day to day, things that you talk about day to day, it can be sharing blog posts, it can be sharing, bits from your impact report, it can be sharing testimonials, but putting you out there and your organization out there as a thought leader, as somebody that's creating change in really powerful, interesting ways. So a real mix, and we go into this a lot more detail in the course in terms of all the specific types of content that you can be sharing on LinkedIn and how to be doing that and to be seen as the thought leader in your niche. But I do recommend kind of doing at least an article once a month on LinkedIn, and then if not posting your own post, but certainly seeking out who your target clients might be and posting on other people's posts, so kind of writing comments, responding, and not doing any pitching necessarily, but starting to be seen as somebody, again, as a thought leader, as per somebody that's got ideas, information, perspectives. And it doesn't have to be the same perspective, you know, actually you'll stand out more if you've got a different perspective on things, where you can share your expertise in the comments. So I hope that's helpful. And again, there with the hashtags is basically what I'm saying is think about what your potential clients might be searching for or using as hashtags, so you can identify them. Hashtags wasn't a thing on LinkedIn a while ago, and it's suddenly become a thing, and it's a really great way to find new people through LinkedIn. And then the last one, then the third one, is start sharing your offer, make connections, and speak to people. So as I said before, you've got to act as though you're open for business, okay? So regardless of where you are, as long as you've got some start of an idea of what your offer is, you should be talking to people about it, because you never know what doors that might open. Okay, this is how my clients get results quickly. They start talking about what they really want, and they start acting as though they are open for business and they're ready to start pitching, even when they feel like they're completely not ready. So this is absolutely what me and Jen did for the first 18 months to 3 years of the business, I would say, is just kind of talk to everybody and anyone who would listen about how we thought we could offer benefit to businesses, and how we knew we were offering benefit to the clients we already had, and kind of sharing their stories and testimonials with people, and literally speaking to anybody and anybody. That's how we got on platforms. That's how we got free invitations to speak on panels. That's how we you know, got invited to other pitches. It's how Jen secured 12k having had a conversation with somebody on a train. Okay, you have to be open for business and kind of start seeing yourself, regardless of where you are in your journey and how perfected your offer is, that you'll start talking about it. The next thing, and these absolutely, so recognizing that done is better than perfect, and perfectionism in my mind actually equals procrastination. Too many people are waiting for creating the perfect offer, and actually you're just procrastinating on getting out there, getting your offer seen, starting to talk to the people that really need you, and actually securing those sales. It's really, really key to be building your network, and as you're doing this, seeing this as an opportunity to learn. Okay, I think too many people, because we're so focused on needing that money in, we kind of see building our network as pitching, and that's not the pitch. Like, it is what it is. It's building your network. It's trusting in the process of the bigger your network is, the closer you are, those 6 degrees of separation, the closer you are to getting to your ideal clients. And every conversation you have, you should be learning about who your ideal clients are and who your ideal clients aren't. So every time you're building that network and you're building those relationships, you should be asking questions and listening. Too many people are talking at people and sharing things rather than taking the time to ask questions, inquire, learn, and take the time to listen and hear what people are actually saying. The listening part is essential. From this, and this is exactly what me and Jen did, and this is exactly why I share it with my clients now and why it gets them success, is from listening and learning, you can then constantly adapt, not constantly, but come back to your offer and kind of adapt it and tweak it and get it perfected with the language that you need to be in there, with kind of maybe some small adaptations to what you're actually saying is in the offer, you know, speaking to actually what they really need, understanding their pain points much more. Hopefully that helps. So I just wanted to share another one of my client successes. This is Jo from Travel Without Plastic. She is the go-to consultancy and training provider for hotels and tour operators. I'm not sure she'd describe her as that, but I definitely see her as this, and I know all her clients do. When she came to me probably 2 years ago now, she was undervaluing her expertise and results. The thing that she was offering at the time was a very, very low price point, ridiculously low. After our first call, she actually increased her prices by 400%. They were that low. And when I showed her the value and actually the financial return on investment she was making, that she was promoting, that she was making for her hotels and knew she could make them, the price point did not make any sense. So we were able to shift that very quickly and even have it at a point that she was comfortable with. She also didn't have any way of bringing in new leads, so we developed that for her. She's now working towards having her first 100k a year, which is super exciting, but also that she's being invited all the time as a guest expert, including probably in the last year, I think she's had this been invited by the BBC, but also the UN, to be part of a programme as an expert contributor. So this is like less than 18 months from starting her business. She's obviously got a huge amount of expertise and wealth of knowledge from her career previously that she brings to this role as a social enterprise, but that's, you know, absolutely relevant. She hasn't just started from scratch, is worth saying. But I know everybody on this call doesn't come with an idea. You're here with experience and expertise with your social enterprise. So the final thing, I think this is one of the final things anyway to share with you, which you've probably been waiting for, is the real key to creating your standout offer. So I've talked about the practicality things and what you actually put into that offer document, you know, the kind of having the bare bones of it. But I just want to reiterate that it's not about these three things. So it's not about spending days and weeks thinking about it and designing it and making it look amazing. It doesn't matter. It's a waste of time. Even to this day, and Jen's now charging 12K upwards for her program. It is a PDF document. It has our logo on it, and it has contact details and everything else I talked about, but it's not that jazzy a document. Okay, you will waste time creating it being perfect, and actually that's not what makes people buy. It's not about waiting until you have delivered a bit more impact. So a lot of social entrepreneurs think, oh, we just need to be a bit more expert, or we need to get a bit more experience. Jen and I were doing this from day one when we had no experience of delivering our program. We were just doing it and running with it. And I think that's really important to recognize. Like, you're already the expert because you are doing what you're doing and you're where you're at. So you have enough and you're doing enough right now to start pitching and selling. It might not be where you will be in 5 years. You might be able to pitch for a lot more in 5 years, but you can still pitch right now where you are at. And it's also a really important, it's not about price. Okay, so you will notice that I've actually not talked about price much, if at all, throughout this webinar. And that's because the price of your offer doesn't matter, in the sense that you can decide what the price is. You can, you know, that's not the thing that will actually make the difference to whether or not people buy it. And I know that might sound strange to people, but it's really the truth. The key is actually knowing what your corporate clients want and being able to deliver a unique offer that matches this. So you really need to know exactly what they want and need so that you can adapt what you have to offer exactly to that. And you need to learn that through having conversations with them. The key is absolutely doing what you do best. So recognizing that you are the expert, because corporates really want different perspectives. They want specialist skills and knowledge, and they want to see results. That's what they're worried about. That's what they want to see. And so if you're just doing your best and you're putting yourself out there as the expert, and you believe that you're the expert and you're sharing your specialist skills and your different perspectives on things, that's what corporates will really get interested in and want to buy from you. And then keeping it super simple, guys. Like, I know you have loads of ideas, add-ons, options, and I said this before, but you do not need to include all of that. Like, complexity and confusion does not create sales. Like, confused people will not buy. So you just need to keep it really simple, straightforward, in language that they can understand, and then get it in front of them. Okay, you can add things on, you can adapt stuff, you can make changes once you're having the conversations, but you first need to get in the door and have that meeting so you can actually pitch to them. I hope that makes sense. So I would like to say thank you so much for taking the time to listen, especially because it was 20 minutes longer than I had anticipated. I didn't say at the beginning, but I'm obviously going to, well, maybe not obviously, but I do want to be able to tell you a little bit more about my Sell to Corporates course, which is open at the moment. So if you're really not interested in this, if what I've shared hasn't been of any use to you, and it really doesn't apply to your organization, then thank you for coming up. Thank you for turning up, I should say. And I wish you all the best, but you do not have to stay for the next bit. But I am going to talk through very quickly what's in the Sell to Corporates course. So if you do want to stick around, you can stay for that. And then also we'll have a Q&A after that. So if you've got any questions, I will go back through the chat because there's been so much amazing conversation there. But also if you've got some questions, I will respond to those as well just after this. So the Sell to Corporates course is my complete system for selling to corporates as a social entrepreneur in a way that feels aligned with your values and authentic to who you are. It's to help you get booked out, secure bigger budgets, and fund your social impact initiatives, like I've already shown with my previous clients and with what we've secured at Solutions for the Planet, with income from corporate sales. This is absolutely possible for you in your social enterprise. The course helps you discover exactly what companies are looking for from you, how to package and price your offer, how to increase your confidence in selling and know the true value of your services so you don't undervalue and set prices that aren't reflective of the value that you offer. It tells you how to secure meetings with cold leads, even in sectors you have no links into, and how to create a powerful pitch and get them saying yes before you've even finished, which is really what you want. It's got 5 core modules in it. So I shared these briefly before in terms of it. We go through creating your standout offer, finding your ideal clients, being seen and being visible as the expert that you are, preparing your perfect pitch. So it's a whole module on what to include in that pitch, how to prepare for it, how to get ready, how to make the most of it, how to make and close those sales, and then also building momentum. So as I said, actually not just having the one sale, but how do you actually build in the systems in your business to have multiple sales and multiple corporate clients so you can really generate the income that you want to create. And just as an overview, so it's 5 modules, each with has 4 lessons on the exact step-by-step approaches you need to take and exactly what to implement. But it's actually 6-week course. So we've got 6 weekly group coaching calls with me. So they're live calls where we actually come on. It's not like a webinar, you're actually on the call. You get to ask your questions. I get to support you. I help to actually help you implement the stuff that you're doing on those weekly group coaching calls. And we've got the 6th one after the 5th module so that we've got that time to wrap up. There's also obviously the community of social entrepreneurs that are on the course, the previous participants and those in the current cohort for you to connect with, learn from, share ideas and discuss with. And then you also get lifetime access. So it's a 6-week course, you get 6 weeks of my support. You also get then you get lifetime access to the course materials so you can work on this at your own pace. And it's actually the next 48 hours, you can get it because I'm extending this. So it's 48 hours. Over the next 48 hours, you can get the whole course for £495. Or if you prefer to pay on a payment plan, it's £195 a month for 3 months. And if you sign up within the next 48 hours, you also get these 2 bonuses. So they're bonus modules with a video tutorial and workbook, like the other modules and lessons within the course. One on how to make 100k a year from selling to corporates, and also how to really build your confidence with sales and selling. So 2 unique modules that really connect to this particular course, obviously, and are brilliant bonuses to have. So you'll get those if you join at this price in the next 48 hours. The price goes up on Sunday, is basically what I'm saying. But also for those of you on this webinar, and for those of you that sign up in the next 24 hours or today, essentially, I'm also going to offer you a 30-minute one-to-one coaching call, because I know that it's a really great way to start the course is jumping on a call with me and getting my insight in terms of exactly where I think you should be positioning yourself, what I think you should be pricing your offer at, and what your offer should be if you're not really sure what it could be. And so I think for those of you that are ready to jump in this afternoon, today, then I'm going to offer you this free, an extra 30 minutes with me one-to-one before you get started, or in that first week of the course. The course starts on the 1st of June, and I would love for you to all be involved in it. Just to wrap up then, I just wanted to share Veronica's experience of working with me. This is not a photo of Veronica, it's just one of those standard photos that I've got off the internet, but I just wanted to share it with you. So Veronica had set up a cooperative providing employment for refugee women. She'd never had experience pitching in her life before, and she was quite worried about it, but she'd been invited to come and pitch for access to 90k's worth of money to kind of get set up, and it also included support and an office space and resources and training within this thing. But she really didn't know how to pitch and what to put in her pitch and how to prepare for it. So I worked with her one-to-one, and after following the step-by-step approach that I talked through with her over sort of 3 calls that we had together, she created her perfect pitch and secured that 90k. So this is absolutely possible regardless of where you are in your journey. I've shared lots of different results, but if you're looking for other things, so maybe you're looking for requests to pitch, selling and securing your offers from anywhere between £500, 2k, 10k or upwards, this course is relevant and applicable to you. As you can see, 2 of my clients have had pitches at 90k. Jen and I, Jen so more now, but certainly in the early days, regularly pitching for over 10k and secure corporate clients who pay multiple 10k pay for the program multiple times in a year for a 3-year commitment, and actually pay much more than sort of 12k because they're operating in different regions of our program. Maybe you want to be invited to speak, run workshops, do lunch and learn sessions. Maybe you're looking to secure multiple corporate clients who you love working with, or maybe you're just looking for help in overcoming your fear and feeling full of confidence as the expert that you are, so you can actually get out there and start working and promoting and pitching to corporates. Then this is definitely the course for you. Hopefully I've given you enough information and insight in terms of how I teach and the kind of resources and support I give, so that this is of interest. But if you do have any questions, I'd be really interested for you to put them in the chat box. As I said, you're going to get your standout offer template anyway, so that is on its way to you afterwards. Just bear with me because it will take some time for me to, it's not automated, and I'm going to be sending that this afternoon to you, but it will be on its way with the webinar. And that's it. Thank you so much for sticking around, guys. That did take longer than I planned, but I really appreciate you sticking around till the end. I am just going to go back for a minute and I'm going to come in, actually put my video on so you can see me. I'm going to stop sharing that. Brilliant. Okay, so let me just take a look at some of the questions. Brilliant. Jen said she's happy to support the community wherever she can. Tom's asked me to send the prices. You will absolutely get all the details about the course, so don't worry about that, Tom. I'm really glad that was useful for you. If Jen's happy for me to share her contact details, I will do that with you, John, as well. John's already joined the course, so that's really exciting. Okay, I'm just going to scroll back. If you have got some questions, by all means put them in the chat box. Rachel's in the course, absolutely, Rachel. Right, somebody's written a very long post. That's Jen. Emma said this is so useful, great to have actionable steps. Thanks, Emma, I'm so glad it was helpful for you. Charlena, love it, thank you. Tom said he'd be interested in seeing a template contract. Okay, we do actually have that in the course, Tom. So let's be in touch. Louise, fall in love with their problem, not your solution. Yeah, like the sound of that. But what do you do? What do you mean by this exactly? I think I know what it means to me, but I wonder if you could elaborate a little bit. Yeah, so I think what Jen means, and certainly I can reflect on this if it's not what Jen means, what I mean, what I would mean by this is that it's really important to like, you've got to be interested in them, right? If you're selling to people at like 10k, you've got to be interested in what their challenges are. So with me and Jen now, I mean, I'm not operational now. I keep saying me and Jen, but I'm not operational in it, so I have less of these conversations these days. But when I was doing this with Jen, I'm doing it with my clients now. When you're selling at 10k and stuff, you're building a partnership with people, right? It's not just a simple transaction. So you're building those relationships after you've made that sale as well. You're getting to know people. And I think if you're not genuinely interested and, you know, with authenticity and integrity, and it doesn't really light you up, like wanting to solve other people's problems, which for most social entrepreneurs, that is the case. But if you're not really willing to kind of explore with your clients what they're really struggling with, what their challenges are, and helping them through that, both helping them understand it, but also helping you understand it as well, and kind of going away and researching it, seeing what other organizations are doing maybe to solve that problem, thinking about how you can help resolve that problem if it's relevant to your business, then you're really not in service to the people that you're working for. And essentially that's what selling's all about. It's about being in service to people, right? So I've got a new question. There's just one question here. Rebecca said, had the train thing too, and then they invite me to apply. Okay. I go back and explain that this isn't who we are, but they keep bumping us back into their mechanism. How can we overcome this, having worked so hard to educate people about us being a business and wanting to operate B2B? Okay, so a couple of things, Rebecca. I think it's a really important question. So Rebecca's referring to when businesses don't understand that you're a social enterprise, or just don't recognise you as a business offering a service. They can only see you as a charity needing donations or being part of their CSR initiative. Two things. One thing, I was like, don't get too hung up about being referred to their CSR part of the business. In some cases, me and Jen have successfully built relationships over time with businesses by first going through the CSR or charity arm. It is a way sometimes to get in the door if businesses just don't get it and can't see past it, and you can then test out the waters. Is it a relationship that you want to develop, or are they just an organization that doesn't get it and you need to move on? So that's the second part, part B really. But I would say for some organizations, we often get, and me and Jen learned this too late, I think, in the business, like you can get hung up because people are engaging with you. You're kind of I don't mean this that you're this, Rebecca, but sometimes I think we can get too desperate to secure those sales, and we don't just say, you know what, we've invested too much time with this particular potential client, it's time to move on and put our energy elsewhere. If they're not getting it, they're probably never going to get it, and you probably need to move your energy to others who do get it and who are already kind of on board, who are vibing with you, so that you can really, what am I trying to say? Because it's better to spend your energy where people are just, where they're easy wins. And actually it's easy. And what we found, I think, is once you've had those wins and you can kind of, you've got the testimonials, you've got the evidence, you've got businesses in the field kind of actually saying, oh my goodness, why aren't you working with Solutions for the Planet? They're amazing, you know, which is what our companies do now for us. They're actually promoting the program because they love us so much. They love the benefit for them so much that they're actually telling their suppliers and their supply chain, their customers, and everybody that they're working with in their industries. And they're the people you really want to work with. You don't want to waste time on people that just don't get who you are and what you're about. But I would also say the other part, which is what we've talked about in this webinar, is actually really shifting. It's not about talking about being a social enterprise. I've not talked about that at all in the webinar. This isn't about you being a social enterprise. That's not really of interest to most corporates because they don't understand the concept. Me and Jen have spent 7 years building a relationship with the corporate sector on a very small scale to educate. Really, we've had the biggest impact with our partners. They now understand what a social enterprise is and how it's different to the charity, but it's not the reason they bought from us. Okay, the reason they bought from us is because we could deliver something that they needed. And it was nothing to do with the fact that we're a social enterprise. So we have to get over the fact that we think being a social enterprise is the most important thing. It's not. Okay, some people will care, most people don't. What you need to be doing is really understanding what is it they need and offering in some way what your package is to what that need is. And I'm not saying change what you do, I'm saying reposition and re-communicate what you do to them. So I hope that helps. But they're the two things that I think are often the problem. Catherine said, another useful quote like the falling in love with their solution is the kiss of death in any business is loving your product or service more than you love your customer. Love that, Catherine. Thank you for sharing. So I don't think anybody's got any more questions. Let me just go back a little bit further, see if there's anything else. I hopefully have answered everybody's questions. Amy's put, how do I know that what I am offering is valuable to them? Good question. So I would say this is why we have to connect, get out there, start talking to people, because we don't know until we really understand who they are, what they're working on, and have those conversations with people. And so it's really creating something. So I would say for you, Amy, so I know you, Amy, I know where you're at in your business and what you're trying to do. So I would say for you, Amy, that trusting in what you really want to deliver first. So create what the offer is that you really want to deliver. That's where I say for everybody to just start. Like, so don't worry so much about what other people want. Like, just create what you think is needed and what you really feel aligned to deliver. Okay. But what I'm talking about in the course and what I've been talking about through the webinar is then once you've got your offer, it's starting to explore how do you package this offer and communicate the offer in a way that makes sense to people and meets their needs. And you can only do that by going out there and building relationships and having conversations and asking questions. So I don't think I mentioned this, but one of the things I get all my clients to do very early on is to just start asking people if you can have a 15-minute conversation with them. Especially in doing this completely broad spectrum, if you don't know where you're starting in terms of the corporate space, because it's hugely diverse. They're not one thing, it's not a homogenous group. So it's just reaching out and asking and starting having those questions and just asking having a 15-minute conversation, having some tailored questions of gaps that you're in your knowledge, in whether you know whether this would meet their needs in really, but also just finding out like what are they doing, what challenges are they facing. So we found out, for example, all sorts of things over the last 7 years about what businesses are struggling with in terms of staff retention, employee well-being, the talent pipeline, which is all to do with the next generation of skills and expertise in the business, like supporting people from entry level through management and kind of developing people along the way, wanting to deliver in areas that aren't their core business, so around maybe sustainability or social mobility, like bringing in experts to do that, general just training and development for their staff, good team working, being seen to be doing the right thing is sometimes the thing, that people want to be doing. So there's all sorts of areas, and that is just a very limited list. But those people that are on the course, we kind of work through and talk about this a lot in terms of where it is that you can really position yourself and start to go and have the conversations that matter. So if there's no more questions, hopefully that was helpful, Amy, I would say that we'll call it a day because it's gone on for a lot longer than I anticipated. I really thank you so much for coming on live. I really, really appreciate it. We had 50 sign up. A lot of people sent me emails to say they couldn't turn up because they're in Australia. That's absolutely fine, or they have other commitments. So I really appreciate to those of you that turned up live, because it means I'm not talking to an empty room. And I hope you found this useful. You will now get the slides, the recording, that freebie. And if you have any other questions that come up after this webinar, then by all means, please send me an email. I'd love to answer those over the next couple of days. And I will send you details of the course, unless you ask me not to. And if there's anything else, just get in contact with me. I'm always here to help. You can find me at the Impact Entrepreneurs Club over on Facebook or on LinkedIn under Kat Luckock, Luckock. And there's also my website, shareimpact.org. So thank you so much for coming. Have a brilliant afternoon and a lovely weekend. It's a bank holiday here in the UK, so I hope you have a great time, even in lockdown. And we'll catch up soon. Bye, guys.